Hey guys, it's Demo again. I ran into a couple of games today, which I wanted to do another commentary on, where I played Clockwerk. The account is currently at about 2600 rating, and we're going to go over two Clockwerk games today. The first one we're going to go over is going to be pretty short. The game bar is a little long, but we're not going to go over this entire game, and the reason for that is because it's just not necessary. I crushed the offlane in the first like 10-20 minutes, and I'm going to go over that and explain my thought process and how I did it, and how you can do it too. And then we're going to look at a little bit of the mid game, and then go on to the next Clockwerk game, which I actually had a really bad start in. So to start, I'm walking immediately all the way to the safe lane as fast as possible, because I want to catch the Ancient Apparition and see if he places a ward here, somewhere in this area. Because as I've gotten higher and higher, I found that supports have placed wards more and more, and they're dewarding more and more, which is to be expected. And one thing I've noticed is that these players, they are too worried about keeping a ward in their inventory for too long. And although that's a valid concern, they tend to just immediately drop it when an enemy is nearby. Like, for example, here, I'm just waiting for the Ancient Apparition to place the ward, and so I can buy a sentry and deward it immediately. Not only is that going to give me all my gold I spent on the sentry back, it'll also give me 25 experience, and I can use a tango on it for double the regeneration as well, which can be a pretty decent advantage in lane, just getting that extra tango. And just a quick second, I'm going to go ahead and lower the volume on this a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, so about my starting build, I think you could make a case for boots first, but I didn't really see necessarily the need of it this game. I'm not the best Clockwerk player in the world. I don't play him too often, but I do know enough about him to play him decently, at least in these games. So immediately, I knew this Ancient Apparition placed a ward here, because when he was over here, the ward was gone from his inventory. So it had to be in this area somewhere, and I figured if I placed a sentry ward, I have like a very large chance of getting it, and he placed it right there. If you guys are ever like in the safe lane as a support and you're trying to place a ward and the off lane appears, you probably should just go like up in the river and place the ward up here, or like maybe anywhere that the offlaner wouldn't necessarily expect it if they look like they're trying to see if they can deward you. And here, if we look at the lane, the only heroes that are going to be there are I see the Night Stalker's top, which is my main concern. So because the Night Stalker is top, that means I'm only against a Medusa and an Ancient Apparition. And frankly, this is a great lane for Clockwerk. Battery Assault is an amazing ability at level 1. It deals over 200 damage. It's kind of like 300 damage, I think, over the entire duration. So if the Ancient Apparition ever walks near me, I can just use Battery Assault on him and kill him. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. See, he can't do anything about it. He used his Chilling Touch, but I'm not really that afraid of it. There's only 2 heroes here, and even if he landed the Chilling Touch on the Medusa, there's really not much to worry about. Medusa only has Mystic Snake at level 1, which really does not hurt much until she has like level 2 and it bounces a bunch of times. And here, I'm just being really aggressive on the Medusa, because the Ancient Apparition is gone. I really have no reason not to be aggressive on her. This lane can't kill me if I play it correctly, and I don't get hit by a Mystic Snake that's bouncing all my creeps at once. So, and as soon as I hit level 3, I'm going to pick up a second level in Battery Assault, which is also a huge change because it more than doubles the damage output. And the entire damage of the level 2 is kind of insane. You can kill almost any hero in the game just from that alone, if you can keep close enough to them for that long enough interval. Which can be hard in some scenarios, but in this lane, against these heroes, it's trivial to do. Like the Ancient Apparition, if I walk up to him and use Cogs and Battery Assault, realistically, what is he going to do? He can't really do anything other than cast Cold Feet and hope the Medusa can kill me. And if I'm not near any of my creeps, she can't kill me at all. There's nothing she can do. She just has to sit there and watch the Ancient Apparition die to me. Right now, I'm just kind of waiting to see if the Ancient Apparition is going to show up here so I can go on him and kill him again. I'm not too worried about getting gold at this point because I already have my boots. And plus, I don't want to be a target for the Mystic Snake spam either. So I'm trying to be careful of that. And I see the Ancient Apparition over here. So I move over a little bit. See if I can catch him off guard. He doesn't have boots, so I have a pretty significant speed advantage over him. Especially with my higher than average base speed. Unfortunately, they have way too many creeps for me to go on him right now. The bad thing about battery assault is that if the enemy has a bunch of ranged creeps or just a bunch of creeps in general, then it becomes a lot less reliable, as you have to either get the enemy away from the creeps, or you have to kill the creeps first before battery assault can truly become effective. So what they should be doing here is playing smartly around the creeps, pulling the wave and trying to stay out of my battery assault range as much as possible. This lane doesn't really have a way of winning against the Clockwerk, so to speak, because I'm going to get experience and some gold no matter what, pretty much. So they just have to play very safe, especially now that I've gotten one kill on them. Now, one thing you can do as Clockwerk that makes him very valuable as an offlaner is that anytime you can go over to the mid lane and gank, which is exactly what I'm doing here. Battery Assault and Cogs is a very, very strong combination. And see, we're just going to kill the Zeus here. Very easy. And then once that's done, I'm going to go back to lane. And maybe get a kill there too. And as a bonus, I did get the both bounty runes on the way. Which, although that wasn't the primary objective, that does help a lot. That gave me like about 100, 110 gold total, I think, from the bounties. And now I'm going to get phase boots. The reason I'm getting phase this game is because, first of all, it makes me do a lot more damage in the early game, like right now. I can do so much more damage, and I can catch up to people easier. Also, the people I'm going to be hooking, they can't really fight back most of the time. Like, I'm going to get a blade mail, so Zeus is just going to kill himself if he ever tries to use spells on me and Cogs. And again there, just Cog the Ancient Apparition, then Medusa can literally do nothing at that point. It doesn't even matter what happens. And I think I might end up killing her here too. Yeah. I'm just trying to buy time for my battery assault to cool down. I was actually lagging really badly here at this point, so I couldn't do anything. But somehow I still ended up getting the kill anyways. Just because she was juking kind of weirdly. And when I finally got back, as soon as I pushed Cog, she just walked into the area. So I got a little lucky on that. And even if the Ancient Apparition was here, realistically the only thing you can do is actually cold feet me, and due to my phase boots, that's going to be a lot less effective than it normally would be. Because I can just phase away and go through any units that might impede me, like the creeps. Next, I'm going to be rushing a blade mail, because it's very effective against the sniper and Zeus. If I ever hookshot the sniper or Zeus and they try to use their abilities on me, I just use blade mail and they can't fight back, and they have to take all that damage from my battery assault and phase boots. And at this point, I can probably kill anybody on their team except for the Night Stalker during that 4.5 second blade mail duration, or a little short bit afterwards. And going out for a gank here on the Zeus. As soon as you get hookshot, you want to ideally do ganks if possible on Clockwerk, just because it's a very, very powerful ability. Medusa's a little bit hard to kill through a level 2 mana shield. Like, I probably would be able to kill her, and I would definitely make her low and have to go back to base. But at that point, I kind of wanted to help out the other lanes to make sure that they were succeeding as well. Even though I'm doing great in my own lane, I ideally want everyone on my team to succeed. And just because these guys are a lower skill than me doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do everything wrong. I should still try to help them when I can, when it's reasonable to do so. Because that's still going to increase my chance of winning overall. As soon as this hookshot's off cooldown, I'm going to be thinking of doing a gank here on bottom. Again, the Ancient Apparition, the only thing I have to worry about the Apparition this game is when he gets his Ice Blast. And that's just because it can do a lot of damage to me. Especially if I'm in the Vortex. But he doesn't have it, and again there, very easy kill. And the Medusa here is going to die too. I just use the hookshot there to stun her and make sure I can keep her in place. And see, phase there, very, very helpful in getting away from the Ancient Apparition. Those creeps would have stopped me, and I probably would have gotten frozen there if I had, didn't have phase. But because I used the phase active, I was able to just move through them immediately. Now, there's a certain technique with Clockwerk. You probably already know this, but if you use cogs at a specific range from an opponent, they will always be shocked and be dealt the health and mana drain. We don't see a whole lot of that this game, and admittedly, I'm not very good at it. But in the next game we're going to show, it ends up being a very, very important part of my tool set. So we will get to see that shortly. Right now, again, just looking for a gank on the sniper. I'm making sure to hide behind the trees when possible. And again, thanks to the phase, I'm able to catch up to the sniper, and we get the kill. Afterwards, I retreat into the trees so that I allow the creeps to come to the tower here and tank the tower shots. That way I'm just not taking too much damage. Now, one thing I've noticed a lot of Clockwerk's players do is that they will buy Tranquils. And you'll kind of see it here in this game. I have to end up going back to base and shrining a lot because of my lack of health regeneration. Since whenever you gank with Clockwerk, you usually end up losing a lot of health. Just because you have to cogs people and use battery assault when close. Like, not that you're dying necessarily, but you might end up losing like 40, 50, 60% of your health. Just like that was in that last gank. That being said, I still think phase was the right purchase this game. I did buy Tranquils the next game. And we will explain the why I bought them there. Now, because Night Stalker was only level 6, I figured he most likely did not have his silence yet. Most Night Stalkers tend to pick that up around level 7, 8, or even 9 sometimes. So if you get ganked with Clockwerk and you have hookshot up, just look at your minimap and see if you can see the creeps. Like, for example, when it was about this point, so the Necro left, and then I was farming the wave here alone. And as soon as the Night Stalker appeared, I immediately looked at my minimap, saw the creeps are here, and then I used that to hook shot away. Although, admittedly, I probably should not have been farming this alone after the Necro left, to be quite honest. That was a mistake on my part. And luckily, I just happened to be there when the creeps were coming. But just because I got away doesn't mean it was necessarily the correct decision. At this point, I'm just going to get some farm I can to finish my blade mail. The blade mail is going to be very important this game for securing kills and making sure that I either stay alive or my opponents die faster. So whenever I hook a target, I'll use blade mail, and if they try to kill me, I will do even more damage to them and kill them quicker. But if they don't deal damage to me during that duration, then I won't die, plus I have a chance of killing them anyways. At this point, I'm too low of health to really contribute much, so that's why I'm telling everyone to get back. Unfortunately, I am going to have to go back to base again, or at least we use the shrine over here now. It was a pretty value shrine. Getting these kills on the Medusa is fairly important. She has basically nothing at this point, and it's gonna stay like that for a decent portion of the game. Let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit more. Again, I saw the ancient apparition over here when the Necro got vision of him, so I just walked that way to cut him off. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on this game, because I don't want to make this video too long, since the next game is more about the mid game and not the actual early game like this one. So again, in this game, just to recap, by using battery assault in lane, you can get kills easy on these weak safe lanes that have like a Medusa and a support that has like no disable and is very fragile like that. And we're gonna go ahead and quit watching this game. Reason being that there's not too much else to say about it. We ran into some issues with the Medusa, where we were having some trouble pushing high ground, but at that point I just got good hooks off and killed the ancient apparition, which allowed us to win the fights. And if you guys want to see that, here's the match ID right here, and you can go view it yourself. Anyways, we're gonna watch the next Clockwerk game. Now in this one, I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. I played really poorly in the first about 10 minutes or so. But then, eventually, I picked myself up and I was able to contribute a lot towards our team winning. Okay, so first off, I'll explain what happened, how I messed up, how you can avoid it, and how I managed to recover. So I think I should have considered maybe going boots in this lane, just because the threat of the roaming Monkey King is a little scary. Sure, he's been nerfed a lot, but Stout Shield probably isn't going to protect me that much if he goes on me, honestly. And we're going to see my first death here very shortly. Let's go ahead and speed this up till we get there. Right here. Okay, so I made the first mistake was I should have run down immediately. I should have just run this way, because the lion was too late, but now I fucked up and I'm going top, and they're just gonna follow me until they kill me. And I can't juke them because the Monkey King has tree dance, and unfortunately my battery assault ran out, so he just jumps up here, then he tries to cut me off with his jump, and the lion's following him, and I'm trying to find a way out. Trying to buy time for my battery assault to go. And then I used my salve, but it got canceled by the Orb of Venom. But it didn't matter because the Void came there anyways. So that was very poor of me. I should have just ran straight downwards instead of going for the fancy jukes. Trying to juke against the Monkey King can be a little hard sometimes. They're pulling, so I'm trying to get the experience I can from this. I do get a couple last hits. It's probably a little bit dangerous to do this against the Monkey King, but I figure that he was probably going back to base to heal after this. Yeah, he went back to base, looks like. Or at least used a salve and then went bottom. Anyways, at this point, I was a little bit scared of the Monkey King, but eventually I saw him bottom. Unfortunately, I ended up dying here again. I was going on the line, but the problem is, unlike the Ancient Apparition, this line actually has disables. If he commits the Earth Spike early, and I can get him alone, then I can kill him. But the Void deals a lot of damage. He's got 70 base, he's got Time Walk, he's got a Bash. It's very, very dangerous to do this. And I almost get the line here, but I didn't check his inventory, and it turns out he had a Fairy Fire. So that was entirely my mistake. So it's been a pretty bad start for me right now. I've died twice. I don't have boots. Pretty terrible game to start with. So right now, I just want to get as much experience as possible. Maybe try to get this wave of experience and then go gank mid or something. Yeah, get my boots now. That should help my survivability quite a bit. Unfortunately, the enemy Monkey King was kind of wrecking our team a bit. Just trying to use my cogs there to drain Void's mana and health a bit. I should be using cogs a lot more because I have a Crystal Maiden on my team, but I kind of forgot about that in the first couple minutes or so. I guess I didn't play Clockwerk enough to think about spamming it all the time in lane. But I will use it a bit more here. Right now, got level 4. Gonna go level mid. Or gonna go gank mid, I mean. Grab the arcane. It's gonna be very useful with the battery assault. Unfortunately, I'm trying to think if I could have gotten this. It's hard to say. If I had, like, walked a little bit forward of him in the cogs or something, maybe we would have gotten that kill if our sniper had level 3 shrapnel instead of headshot. But unfortunately, there's not much else you can do. The good news is that the Ember is forced out of lane for now, so he's going to be about a full level behind our sniper at the very least. Yeah, he is, which is going to help our team quite a bit. Right here, I'm just trying to I was trying to get the Void low and drain his mana, but I kind of overestimated how much mana it drained, because he still just barely had enough for Chrono. He had 158 out of 150 needed, and I wanted to get to the shrine here, but I kind of fucked up. I should have just stayed closer to tower and let the Kunkka walk in there. So I misplayed really badly again. Currently 0-3. Kind of close to level 6. But now at least we're going to get the lion kill in return. Have to be very careful against the Monkey King. If he gets his Jingu Mastery off, then we're going to have a very, very bad time. I made a huge mistake there by cogging in the Kunkka with us. What I should have done there was... So the Monkey King's here, right? I should have used cogs in a way to push him this way, right? I should have used it like up here to push him this way towards this camp, so he'd be like right on this cliff here. And ideally that would mean the sniper could cut him off. So I made a huge mistake here by cogging the Kunkka in. And man, Kunkka, if you're in this game, if you're watching this video right now, I am really sorry. That was definitely my bad. At least we got the kill though, and Sniper is not going to die here. Monkey King's actually leveling faster than I am, which is not good news for me. I'm not going to get my level 6 until about 8.5, 9 minutes in. I went for Tranquils this game, and the reason for that is because if you look at the heroes on their team, I can't really fight them in cogs all that well. There's a Void, and he has a lot of base damage. He has Time Walk to escape from cogs, and he has pretty good base armor and a bash too. And you have Bristleback, who, if I hook him, although hooking him can be good, and trapping him can be great, you still can't do a whole lot against him. He'll just turn your back to you and avoid most of the damage anyway. And you don't really want to fight him head on either, because Warpath gives him a ridiculous amount of damage. And the Monkey King, although Monkey King has really bad base armor, and you can fight him in cogs okay. I'm still kind of scared about it because he's just gotten so much farm from his effective roaming and stuff. So I just decided to play it safe and buy Tranquils this game. Tranquils makes you really fast when it's not disabled. Not quite as fast as Phase, but it's faster overall. Meaning that if you're running long distances, in Unbroken Tranquil Boots will get you there faster, rather than just spamming the Phase active. Also, it gives me that much needed health regeneration, which is going to be great this game, because that means that I'm going to be able to continuously gank for my team, even if I don't have hookshot. Also, Tranquils are very cheap, which is another great thing when you're this far behind as Clockwerk. We got my level 6. Line went this way, and I saw the Void went up here. Bristleback is down here. Ember's dead. So the only person that can help him is Monkey King. And I think I saw Monkey King down here, so I figured, well, we might as well go on the Lion. It's not like he can do anything if I go on him now. It's not worth a whole lot, but, you know, like I said before, getting that first hookshot off kill is pretty important, because it helps set your momentum for the rest of the laning phase. Or what little remains of it, at least. Now, I teleported mid to help the sniper, but unfortunately my teleport got cancelled by the Void bashing me. It was smart of him to see me TP and try to bash me there. And unfortunately he got it. The Void's trying to play a little bit aggressive on me here, but I used the cogs to defuse that, and also it drained 160 of his mana, which is quite a bit, meaning that he can't use both Time Walk and Chrono for a few seconds here. I'm using cogs again, just so I can make sure he's not going to Chrono me, or anybody else, and kill us. I'm playing a little bit too aggressive here, though, and for that I get punished. I was vastly overestimating my ability to take damage that game. Clockwerk has pretty poor base armor for a melee hero. He starts at 2, and right now I have 4, and his agility gain is actually pretty good, which has always kind of surprised me. But yeah, bad agility growth and bad base armor, so you want to be careful around heroes like Void. But the good news is I don't die from here on out. So hopefully that'll be the end of the bad decisions. Next item I'm going for this game is an urn. Like I said, I haven't played Clockwerk much, but I think the new urn might be pretty good on him. Just because it gives you some much needed armor, gives you a little bit of all stats, gives you some healing you can use on both yourself and your teammates, gives you some damage you can use with the active. It's very useful. And I want to talk about this fight here, because this is actually a pretty pivotal fight for us. So right now, they're at about a 4,000 gold lead, which it's reasonably significant at this portion of the game. If we go to the net worth, you can see that Void is on top by far, and I'm ahead of the supports, our supports, but not by much. Everyone on their team is, other than the Lion, is at least 1,000 gold ahead of me, which is not good news. But, however, this fight is going to be very important. So I see them going on the enemies here, so I immediately start walking over looking for a hook. Our Kunkka dies, but I check Ember's mana. He has almost nothing left. He has only 1 bottle charge. He has no upgraded boots, nothing else. The Bristleback, very low on health and mana. Even though he probably has maxed out Bristleback by now, I assumed. I assumed he would have 2 or 3 points in this. So I thought, well, even if I hookshot him, I'm probably going to kill him, just because he's already at such low health anyways. So I go in, I get 2 in the cogs, and then Ember leaves the cogs, which may have been a mistake, because that ensures the Bristleback's death. If Ember had stayed here, he may have ended up soaking up some of the battery assault, so the bristleback would live. And the lion stuck too close. He should not have used mana drain on me there. He should have stayed far away so that I wouldn't be able to use battery assault on him. And the Ember, he screwed up too. You don't want to be in situations like this as Ember with no mana. When you have 0 mana, you need to play very, very safely, because with no mana, you can't Remnant at all. Thankfully, the Dragon Burn, Dragon Knight Burn finishes him off. And as for Monkey King, he made a huge mistake right there. The new Monkey King, the Monkey King ult was changed. So Wukong's command used to give bonus damage, but it does not anymore. And now instead it gives armor, which wasn't really that important to him there, because we had battery assault, and the Dragon Knight Elder Dragon form does magic damage over time as well. So he should not have tried to fight us there like that. Ideally, he should be saving that ult for like ganks and stuff, not for 2v1 fights. But I got a lot of gold from that fight. I got about 1,000 gold, which was a huge difference. And I'm going to be picking up a Blade Mail next. It's a pretty good item in this game. I wouldn't say it's as good as last game, but it's pretty reasonable. It's okay against the Ember. It's okay against Void. It's good against the Lion, and so on and so forth. I think maybe you could probably skip at this game if you were so inclined, but I found it pretty useful. Now we're gonna go back our Kunkka up. Now, here you're gonna see what was the bane of Bristlebacks and Void and Monkey King this game was my cogs. So, like I mentioned before, I end up using power cogs pretty effectively this game to knock people back. I normally max Flare either first or second, and cogs last. But in this game, I found that the power cogs would be so useful with the mana drain that I decided to max it second and see how that felt. And to be honest, it felt really, really good. Because if you look at the heroes on their team, Bristleback, he cannot do anything without mana. Monkey King, he can be okay without mana, but the pushback kind of screws him over a bit. And also the cogs makes it really hard for him to maneuver around, especially during his ultimate. And you can push him out of it as well to stop it. And finally, Void. He's very mana reliant. He can't cast Chrono if his mana is too low. He can't Time Walk if he doesn't have any mana. And the power cogs can also screw him up if he tries to Chrono somebody. And I managed to get the cogs off just beforehand. And finally, the Ember, it's also really good against. Not quite as good against him as the other heroes, because he has more ways to maneuver around the fight. But still, an Ember without mana is basically just a creep, and he can't really do anything. And again, because he's melee, and his abilities are... his Searing Change is kind of short range, so using cogs wisely can make him have a really bad game. Right now I'm just kind of playing safe, looking for pickoffs where I can get them. I actually end up becoming one of the most highest level players on our team. And the reason for that is because I just don't die for the rest of the game. If you're not dying, you're always getting experience and gold. So if you end up in a low level as a low level in a lot of your games, one thing you might want to be looking at is how often you die and for how long you're dead. Like, for example, even though I've died 4 times this game so far, all those deaths were at very low levels, where my respawn timer was quite low. Important to teleport to support your team with Clockwerk. Right now I'm looking for a hook. I barely missed it on the Ember. I probably should have just gone on the Bristle instead of chancing it. I was looking for the Lion here, but unfortunately I just can't get close enough. We're gonna take this tower now. Thankfully, our Crystal Maiden was right on top of it, on freezing the Void as soon as he used Chrono there, which is really nice. And here, exactly what I said before. You know, I'm gonna walk up to the Void. I'm not gonna actually put him inside Cogs, but I'm going to drain him with the Cogs. And he ended up getting shocked again. It was really smart of Sniper to run this way, because my Cogs are over here. So Void, if Void wants to avoid these Cogs, he has to run all the way over here, kind of like this area, because the Cogs have a little bit of a deceptive range when it comes to the shock. Unfortunately, Void did get me with his time dilation on all 4 of my skills, so I was really slow there. And there's no reason to stick around at this point, because I can't do anything. All my skills are on cooldown, and I'm just going to die. Now I'm going to go in, and this one was another pretty good Cogs use, I think. Kunkka used his boat really well here, I want to say. This is like a triple boat, I think. And see, I use the... I'm sorry, Kunkka, I really tried my best to save you here, but I kind of screwed up again. Oops. Anyways, I got the Ember to be shocked, so he drained all of his mana. And then the Bristleback can't really do anything. He should probably just be attacking the Cogs and running. They're pretty useful. 150 pure damage is a lot more than you would think. Yeah, it secured me the kill right there. You think the Monkey King dies here? I tried to actually knock him backwards, because if I would have stunned him during the cast animation for command, then it would have been canceled. Like, he would have had to cast it again. But unfortunately, I screwed up. But what I did was I ran right outside of the circle, right here. As long as you're not inside the circle, the monkey clones will not attack you. And also, the creeps were kind of stuck on the Cogs here a little bit, so that got me a couple of battery assaults directly on Monkey King himself. So as long as I know that as long as I'm fighting him here, and I don't get Jingu Mastery on me, I should be okay. And thankfully my allies were there. If my allies weren't there, I would probably try to run away and try to get him to run into the Cogs and kill him using Urn and Flare. I think I would have been okay, but it would have been a little bit risky. At this point, I noticed that they're going on my Dragon Knight, and the benefit of that is that I can effectively take all the time in the world to walk over there. So I was all the way over here at mid when they went on the Dragon Knight, and luckily he just has so much armor right now that they're having a lot of trouble actually killing him. If this was any other teammate, like even the Kunkka, I wouldn't have bothered because I wouldn't have been able to make it there in time. But I said, hey, they're going on the Dragon Knight now. He still has 15 armor with the Goose Stacks on him, so he's definitely going to live for at least another 4, 5, 6 seconds. So I could probably get in hook range right here and turn it around on the Bristleback. If I get the Bristleback hooked, I can either trap him in the cogs or use the cogs to drain the rest of his mana. And also the line over here is screwed up because he drew too much creep aggro. He took about 70% of his health and damage from the creeps just attacking him. So he should not have been right-clicking the Dragon Knight there. He should have been walking around, like in this way, or some other way to try to disengage the creeps. You do not want to be taking creeps as a lion like that. I decided to trap the Bristleback in the cogs here. That would have given me more of a chance of a kill, rather than just draining his mana. I'm going for a Force Staff next. Even though I'm doing much better right now, and I'm currently on top of the net worth of my team, I still need to be very careful, because it's going to be very easy for me to actually die in these engagements, especially if I get chronoed, or if the Monkey King jumps on me and stuns me or something. So I want to buy Force Staff as soon as possible. Force is also really useful, because it allows you to place cogs without using hook. You can Force Staff over a large distance, you can go past an enemy and use cogs to push them into your team, or just use cogs to trap them, etc. Or you can use it to cogs an enemy and then force yourself out, so that they're trapped in the cogs themselves, and they can't kill you. Sometimes you just want to use the hook shot for the stun, and that's good enough. Again, stunning the Ember there with the power cogs, very useful. Right now, I'm not trying to deal damage like I was last game. I'm just looking for opportunities to use cogs effectively, and to either trap enemies or make them lose a lot of mana. I may have ended up screwing our Kunkka here. Oh no, I didn't. Got the Bristleback. He committed a little bit too much to that fight. I used the cogs there. It didn't shock the Void, but I was just trying to get away. I wasn't too concerned about actually stunning him. The good thing about the Void changes is that it's a lot harder for him to deal with cogs now, because the jump range is so small that until he gets that level 25 talent, he can have a lot of trouble jumping over the cogs without getting hit by them. Again, just playing very safe here. Gonna look for the pickoffs when possible. Use my flare to push waves safely. You can use Battery Assault to farm jungle camps if there's some downtime. Well, we may skip past some of this. Probably unnecessary for me to TP there. But now that I'm here, we're going to be able to take the tower, because I'm going to have hookshot up. Keep in mind that where you stand when you're pushing these towers is going to affect where you can hookshot. So ideally, if you're pushing this tower, you could be standing here, or over here, or over here. Just kind of anywhere where you think the enemy does not have vision, and you think they won't be expecting a hook from. Anywhere that gives you a good angle. Now, I screwed up here, and I was looking at the minimap too much, and I didn't see our maiden. Or what I should say was, I was looking too much up here, and not using my minimap to see the Crystal Maiden was directly ahead of me. So that unfortunately wasted the hook. I just put the flare out there to make sure nobody was going to try to wrap around us, especially the Void, while we're taking a fight here. Next, I'm going to be picking up a Lotus Orb. And the reason for that is because it's pretty useful against your team. You can purge Ember's Searing Change with it. You can also purge Lion's Hex with it as well. But you can purge Nasal Goo, technically too. Although he can get stacks back up on you pretty quickly. But whenever I initiate, it means that they're going to have a hard time stopping my initiation and killing me or one of my allies. So like the Lion can't hex me without hexing himself. If he throws a Nurse Spike, he's going to end up stunned too, and so on. The armor is also going to be really helpful for me as well this game. As for my talents, I'll just go over those really quickly. In both games, I opted to go for the 200 mana talent. This is because I wasn't facing a ton of physical damage on the other team. If there was, I would consider going for the armor. But Clockwerk's default mana pool is a little bit low, so that extra 200 mana helps quite a bit. As for the level 15 talent, in the previous game, I got the 50 damage. And the reason for that is because with that, in Phase Boots and Blade Mill, you're hitting for something like 200 damage or more at level 15, which is pretty absurd for a Clockwerk, and helps you get a lot of kills. But this game, I'm not really going to be able to put out damage consistently, so I want to get the 75 Rocket Flare damage. That's going to be really helpful against the enemy team split pushing, and it's also going to do reliable damage in fights when I use the Rocket Flare, which isn't much, but it does add up. As for level 20, in both games I pick up the Battery Assault damage. I think that's usually better than the Magic Resistance. Just because it's a little over a 50%, or a little under a 50% increase, I should say. But it's still pretty good. It's a pretty large damage increase. And the 12 Magic Resistance is a little weak for level 20. But I guess it's okay if you can't really use Battery Assault that game or something. And I don't really get to level 25 very long for either game, but I think the Battery Assault duration is probably usually better. Whenever a Battery Assault is down, you usually feel a lot weaker as Clockwerk, and the ability to have it up at all times, because the duration is actually a little bit longer than the cooldown with that talent, means that you're able to do a lot more in fights. Right now, we're just going to go take Roche. And I'm going to get in place for a hook when this is happening. Now, I see the Lion up here, and the Bristleback's over here, and the Void and Sniper, or Void and Monkey King are over here. So I figure that if I hook this guy, he's going to die, and I should be able to get away scot-free. So I see him go into the fog, so I launch a flare, and then immediately use the hook shot. And again, the cogs protect me a lot from the Bristleback. And this fight is actually going to be show how to use cogs to get away from opponents, sort of. So I'm just doing my best to survive here. I'm not too concerned about getting a kill. Luckily, my allies were on point and came right away to help out. The Bristleback, I think, is making probably the wrong choice chasing this over and over, because I just have so many ways to disengage. I have 28 armor. I've got cogs, I've got Force Staff, I've got Blade Mail, just so many ways to deal with this guy. He should not have committed that much. As soon as the Lion died, they all should have just left and let us get the Roche at that point, honestly. So we saw the Void he chronoed the Kunkka here actually, So, as soon as the Void disappeared into the woods here, I just used a flare to locate him. Now, the Void is going away, right? But the Ember, I don't know if he's looking bot or not, but it's a very bad choice to teleport in here. He's going to pay for it really badly. Yep, and our sniper gets it. Now again, I'm going to use the Cogs push here, and the reason for that is because it's going to disable him for longer. Just like that. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the kill. But we at least did enough for the Void to go away. And we can get a kill on the other allies now. See, just like there, that's what I was trying to do earlier to Donkey King. You can pretty easily use Cogs to disrupt his ultimate. If you're right next to him, it's generally easy to predict. And the casting time is long enough to where you can reasonably react before you can finish casting it. The next item I'm going for is an Ags. Like I said, I'm not the best Clockwerk player in the world, so my reasoning might be wrong. But I think some lower level Clockwerk players value Ags too much. I'm going to pause here while I explain this. I think they value Ags too much because you have to have a lot of mana to use Ags effectively with the low cooldown. And in a lot of fights, you're not always going to get the opportunity to use Ags effectively because of all the units that would block your hookshot, if that makes sense. However, we're against a team that is extremely mobile and can disengage very easily. So by getting this Ags, it's going to help a lot against them. Like the Void has his Time Walk, Ember has his Remnants. If I can land a hookshot on them after a fight or during a fight when they try to escape, then that can be a big win for our team. And also, it offers a lot more control in these fights when you're looking for stuns. Ags is definitely a good item on the hero. I just don't think it's necessarily an every game thing. Looks like we're going to be pushing high ground soon. Again, I'm just standing here looking for a hook. Going on the line if possible, because he's the easiest target to kill. I'll use the Lotus Orb myself. And the Void screwed up. I don't know why he didn't just use Chrono over here. But it's not like it would have mattered. I think I would have lived anyways. And he used to end up using all his mana for that Chrono. Poor guy. And I think that's just about the end of the game there. Yeah, we didn't just end up getting megas here and killing them all. So not much else to say about that. But again, just to restate everything, when you're Clockwerk, you can take advantage of these weak safe lanes by using Battery Assault effectively. And if you have a bad start game, don't worry too much about it. Just focus on not dying and getting the kills using hookshot when possible. And in these scenarios, using your cogs as a control tool becomes a lot more effective. Because like as I'm sure you saw in this game, I wasn't using cogs just to get like solo kills. I was mostly using them outside of hookshot to stun enemies and drain their mana, etc. as a sort of control tool for my team, rather than just trying to lock myself in with somebody and kill them. If you guys have any questions, or you'd like a replay reviewed by me, just let me know or post a comment or message. Thanks.